Welcome back to the Michigan Sports Media Network. We are here today with Brad Thompson and James Gullett, as always. Today, we're back to normal. We had the draft show live, but something's a little different. We are live, and we will be live every Monday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Don't know when the end will be because we like to talk. So who knows when we're going to be done? But usually we're done around 7:30. So kind of you can plan for that if you're watching live. But with that being said, the draft is over. The NFL season is starting to slow down, as it should. It's been a long haul all the way to draft night or draft weekend, really. So, with that being said, we are going to start with Tigers today, per the usual. So, Brad, the floor is yours for our Tigers update.
All right, thanks, and good afternoon, guys. Good evening, whatever. Oh, by the way, there's no such thing as normal on this show, so but so hey, let's start. Hey, Tigers, what can you say, man? I mean, they've gone from in the Major League Baseball power rankings, they've gone from 8 to 5. You can make a case they could be higher. Uh, they've got the best run differential in baseball right now, and that's huge. What does that mean? It means they're getting their offense, and obviously they're getting their pitching. Their offense, I think at least I thought coming into the season that this was going to be very challenging, and it's still, it's still, it's still made. But you know, there's only three players right now with over 100 at bats, and I mean, I think we know who they are: Green and Torkelson. Uh, the other one's escaping me right now, but I mean, AJ Hinch. What can you say about him? I mean, everything he touches is absolutely working. It is just it's unbelievable, and it's right now it's shaping into a three-team race. I don't know what the hell's going on in Minnesota. I mean, I got a feeling that their coach is going to get bounced there, the manager's going to get bounced. Chicago. I mean, it's going to take 10 years to have them dig out of that cluster. You know what? Um, KC, if they got to start getting better pitching. They seem like they're turning it around a little bit, and but the Guardians, they just they're like that net. They're like the mother-in-law that just won't go away and keep this like, dude, stop. I get it, stop. But no, they're just a good baseball organization. They draft well, and their minor leagues are great. So, but with I mean, this is by far the best run the Tigers have started with. I mean, they have got outside of they're one game behind having the best record in baseball. And so we got to keep in mind because with the injury concern, remember I said if they can take the two minus two thing. I mean, right now they're 8 games over 500. So I'm not going to go there and start crowning them right now. There's a long way to go, but I'm still going to do the 40 games. Sparky Anderson always says judge our team by the first 40 games. I'm uh, I'm definitely willing to do that. And I mean, yesterday Skubal, that's what I mean. That's about it. Well, I'm not going to say that. That's vintage Scooble. I mean, he had 11 Ks through 6 innings. Hello, his changeup literally was unhittable. I mean, he had guys just going like this. All right, look at me like with my putter after about 7 beers. I mean, it was. I mean, and no walks, no walks. I mean, it's unbelievable when he throws like that. Nobody's touching him. And that's the great thing about Scooble is if these guys go on a little bit of a losing streak or whatever, Scooble's always going to be the stopper. All right, he's not going to let this thing go on to 7, 8 games. He's always going to be there, and that just gets people out of that funk too. Time to start saying some good things. I mean, about what we've seen. Torkelson, I tweeted yesterday that he's the best player in baseball. I completely forgot about this guy named Shohei Ohtani. All right, because he's just going to be. I mean, and Torkelson, is he one of the best players in baseball? We'll see. Okay, but for right now, he is playing like a top five player in the game. It is just, I mean, it's just unbelievable what he's doing. Uh, and it's so much, it's the clutch hits that he's getting. He's hitting down around the 240 range. If I'd have to look at it. But remember what I say, it's not how many hits you get, it's when you get the hits. And every time he comes up, it seems like he's producing. So That's a great thing because Riley Green right now, I mean, his defense, Riley's defense, I mean, he's the best defensive left fielder in the game, my opinion. But, just his hitting is it's not there. And we're in the valley right now, but we've been in the valley pretty long. I mean, he's got to start snapping out of this. McKinstry, I kind of talked about if he was going to be solely a third baseman, I was worried about his hitting and the stats. But McKinstry is the type of player that I think's coming. That the more he plays, the better he is. He's not the type of guy that can sit, and play two, maybe three games a week. It's just not in his DNA. When he plays and he plays on a regular basis, you can make a case right now that he'd be an all-star. I mean, he's hitting 321 and he's versatile. You can put him anywhere like AJ loves to do. And AJ's, I think, kind of said, you know what? He's got to play every day, so I'm going to find a spot for him every day. Uh, Unbelievable. And then, I mean, who would have guessed that Javi Baez, I mean, is he playing like the $25 million a year? Sorry, I'm pulling a Tykeal Williams there. Is he playing like the $25 million, a year player? No, he's not. But he's playing good. I mean, let's break down these numbers. I mean, if you would have told us this, he's hitting 301. 301 for Christ's sake. He's only struck out, it says only, but he's only struck out 19 times. All right. He's got a 244 K rate, and that's sixth among the starters right now. So I mean, he had a big day yesterday. He's playing center field like he always should, like he should never have played center field. He should always be out there. Like since the beginning of his career, he's like a duck to water. He's a natural out there. Uh, but what he's really been doing is he was saying he's let that ball travel deeper. He's reading the stitches a little more coming out of the hand. He said I wasn't really reading the ball out of the hand. And he's also changed his stance a little bit. So this is night and day. And people are saying, and even I thought, it's like, was he really putting everything into it when these guys were going through their trials and tribulations? Did he really want to be here? I think that is true. Okay, I just do. It seems like that's the way Javi is wired. But you know what? I don't care because this is a good ball club. And if this gets Javi Baez rejuvenated to come even, I mean, he's not going to play like a $25 million player, but if he can play like a $15 million player, I mean, look at what we've got here. We weren't counting on Baez. Respectfully, we weren't counting on Torkelson. We weren't counting on Mize. We weren't counting on McKinstry. So these guys are coming out of nowhere. They're coming out of the woodwork. And I mean, when Green gets hot, look out. And if Green gets hot, it still remains to be seen. But on the injury front, Matt Vierling is nearly, he's supposed to be ready early May to mid May. So he's definitely nearing a return. That will allow him to either go to right field and Carp can go back to the DH role, which I think is very important for him. Um, you know, right now, Colt Keith's hitting a bucket, a 182. That doesn't get it done. He's playing on a regular, he's playing on a regular basis, hitting 182. So I mean that's gonna signal something's gonna happen here because he gets in right field, Cart moves to DH. Keith, there's no other choice. He's gotta go down. He just does. Okay. I think like they like what they're getting out of Jace Young. They're getting some great defense. They're getting that gritty type of player. Uh, so Colt Keith, and I think when Perez is due at the end of May to come back, so I think you're going to see Colt Keith and Justin Henry Malloy go down. You can't have a 182 and a 204 guy in the lineup. Alex Cobb is coming back. He threw live, supposed to be back. Sometime next month. Obviously, he's not going to break down that. He's not going to break the starting rotation. That's the best rotation in baseball. One guy over three, a 3 ERA, and that's Reese Olson, who just made this Padres look silly. So I think Cobb's going to go to the bullpen, and I think once and for all we can launch Kenta Maeda into the sun. Okay, and look what he did yesterday. I mean, he walks a guy, he hits a guy, can't find the ocean from the beach. He's got something up here. At first, he didn't have any good stuff. His stuff was never good to begin with, in my opinion. I don't know why we gave him a 2-year deal. And now it's inside his head. And now he's doing this and this and this. Dude, get the fuck out of my town. All right, he's got to go. Bo Brisky, he got a shot of cortisone in his ankle, so he's going to be back next month too. That just gives you, hey, just keep adding on to this pen. I mean, good God, it's just unbelievable. They've got this guy Chase Lee. I mean, for this guy, he's got a 3/4 motion, and hitting a 3/4 motion, it's a bitch. Okay, I mean, on right-handers, he's going to be tough as hell. Okay, got to be careful on left-handers because if you come right into him, you're coming right into their wheelhouse. So he's got to get a little better command. But I really like the dimension that he brings to this ball club. He is he's just playing great. Let's see, Will Vest. I mean, you talk about bringing pure gasoline, and he's got the mindset to be that closer. All right, he's got the mindset. I'm not sure Brisky. I think Brisky's going to be more of an eighth inning setup guy. Him and Conley will do that a little bit. But Vest, I think he's just taking a stranglehold. Goes, look, man, I'm the closer of this team. Give me the ball in the ninth. It's a wrap. So I really like where he's coming from right now, and I mean, Tigers, they have the pitching staff. They have the fifth average runs against. They're third in ERA. They're second in WHIP. They're third in shutouts, and they're sixth in saves. I mean, the reason why they're sixth is coming to these guys. It's not safe situations. Yesterday was not a safe situation. They're putting a hurt on this team. So, do I think Water will hit its level? I don't, but I think that the play is going to kind of. Well, who knows? I mean, hell, I said they got a lot to worry about, but they might be coming back to earth for a little bit. That remains to be seen, though. Like I said, AJ Hinch, he's a genius. I mean, he's arguably the best manager in baseball. I think Bruce Bochy in Texas is. I think you got to give him that. But AJ Hinch, he's top three. It's not even close. Uh, so, an interesting little fact about the Tigers, just a little thing, is that for the first time ever, they are playing right now in Houston, which is the Central Time Zone. Then they play in Colorado on this trip, which is the Mountain Time Zone. Then they go out to California and play in the West Time, in the Pacific Time Zone. Then they come back to Detroit and play in the Eastern Time Zone. So, first time ever. Take it for what it's worth. But to end on here is all our teams have an idea. Well, let me get back to that. Our teams have an identity. Lions, grit, balls to the wall. Okay. Tigers, they're just built different. Okay. They're gonna take that extra bag. They're gonna make you make them out. Okay. When you put pressure on a defense in baseball, it is goddamn tough. Okay. It's just as tough in basketball. It's just as tough in football. All right. You pressure that team. The guys are getting out of the box. They're looking to go first to third. McKinstry was a great example of that yesterday. Make the defense make plays. All right. Um, with the Pistons, they're young, they're scrappy. Okay, it's back to work. All right, and the Red Wings, yeah, fire Eisman. So yeah, losers, redheaded stepchild. You suck. Fire Eisman. You gotta go, Eisman, but you never will. That's why you're never gonna be fucking irrelevant anymore. Fuck you, Red Wings. Other than that, I'm great. Back to you guys.
All right. Well, great stuff as always, Brad. Well, on the Tigers, I personally was going to go to the game last
That sucks.
Friday. And as I was on my way there, I was 1 hour away. I live 2.5 hours away. So I was already too far to turn around. Game was canceled, well, postponed to the next day. Couldn't stay the night because of circumstances. So I was not able to see them. Hopefully, I will see them at some point this year. But shout out to our winners of our ticket giveaway that did go to the game the next day. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed yourself, and I know it was a great day for some baseball. So, hopefully, the doubleheader worked out well for you guys. But with that being said, if you want to be a part of giveaways in the future, follow us on X or Twitter at MI Sports Media, and subscribe to our YouTube as well as our Twitch. And you could be next. So, with that being said, moving on to the Pistons. Man, The no call. Okay, look, man. I have been on this show many, many times, guys, and I have said I don't think the Pistons really have a chance, right? Then we saw them play each other. I was at the game live the week before the playoffs, which the Pistons did win, and it was in pretty good, I wouldn't say dominant, but almost dominant fashion. They played the game pretty well. They were down double digits in the third quarter, so kind of a back and forth game, but the fourth quarter they definitely took over. But this playoff series has been a little weird. Like the first game we almost won in MSG. And then we win game 2 in MSG. And so it's feeling like we're coming back to Detroit. Shit's going in our favor. We're going to be all right. And then we lose game 1 in Detroit, which, it wasn't really that close throughout the game. And then we brought it back towards the end, which it felt good to bring it back, but it was a loss. Game 4, though, was a travesty, folks. The Pistons couldn't really seem to get much going outside of Cade Cunningham. Kind of throughout this series, a couple guys like Tobias Harris, he had his first 2 games he played pretty well. He was kind of our second option there. But last game, man, we it looked like we were gonna get our asses kicked. Honestly, I'm gonna keep it real. The first half was tough. Like I was worried it was gonna be a rough one, and then the Pistons came out. They had an okay third quarter, and then they really turned it on the fourth, and they brought it all the way back. They were battling back and forth at the end, and then as we all know, the Tim Hardaway no call on the 3-point shot. Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. no call on the 3-point shot. And it was just... It's one of those things, man, where it just really grinds your gears, Because I didn't think the Pistons had a chance. And they almost made it 2-2 going back to New York. And that could have been a real difference maker. Now, at this point, look, man, I'm not going to count them out, but I pretty much am. I mean, I just don't see a way the Pistons can come back. And it's kind of what I said coming into this, playoff series. Karl Anthony Towns is going to be too much for us to handle, especially without Isaiah Stewart. He has been really, really getting us. Jalen Brunson, of course, has also been doing his thing, especially the last game. We all know he's a flopper. He used to be one of my favorite players, and then I saw him play live when they played the Pistons, and I was like, holy shit. They think SGA's foul baiting. This dude is like fucking prime Harden. Like, I was like mind blown, honestly. But it made me just kind of not like him as much anymore, just because you can't play soft like that, bro. Like, come on, you can't be trying to. And this is the crazy part, right? Jalen Brunson had multiple calls go his way that were similar or not even as bad as the Tim Hardaway shot. That's where I'm confused. It's like they've been calling it the same. They say they've been calling it the same the whole, series, but it seems clear that they haven't, because Jalen Brunson has got multiple of those where he goes up, the guy jumps, and then he double clutches and jumps into the guy. They've done that. And that's not even what Tim Hardaway Jr. did to the full extent, because he was going to shoot it and was trying to get out of the way so he could actually shoot it, and then decided last minute to just stay there. And that's when Josh Hart smacked his hand. I mean, that's a foul, folks. I don't know what else to say about it, honestly. The fact that we're even talking about this is crazy. And on top of it, the NBA came out and said they were wrong. It was a foul. So here's what I think should happen. I think, okay, before the next game starts, you put Tim Hardaway Jr. on the free throw line. And you say you get three free throws. I almost just had a tongue twister there. You get 3 free throws. We lost by 2, right? Or 1?
1.
Got to make 2, bro. You make 2 and you guys win the game. Because at that point, the game was over. There was no time on the clock if that shot goes in. Or if he's fouled, he goes to the free throw line with maybe 0.6 seconds. You know what I mean? It's nothing. You can't even get a shot up. That's what I think should happen. That seems like the most obvious way to fix this, in my opinion. Why not? There's no time left on the clock. It's basically end of regulation anyway. They should have looked at it in the first place, in my opinion, but they didn't. You can't come out and say it was a foul and then just not fucking do anything about it. That's crazy. Like, that's kind of fucking insane, honestly. It's like, yeah, we fucked up. It's like, okay, bro, if it's a regular season game, all right, whatever. This is a playoff game. It's game 4, folks. The most pivotal game in a series, unless it's tied 2-2 going into game 5. That's the most, I mean, in my opinion, if you're up, 2-1, you tie it, it's a new series. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel the Pistons got absolutely fucked out of a win. Because I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is making at least 2. I mean, I feel like that's pretty obvious. I feel like most people would say that. So, NBA, please do me a favor. Do us all a favor. Tim Hardaway Jr., 3 shots. 3 shots, baby. Let's see what happens. So, with that being said, I will open it up to the panel. Brad, if you have any thoughts on the Pistons Knicks series so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, and where to start. Um, you talked about Brunson. Why? I mean, he's flopping all over the place like a goddamn fish out of fucking water. I took my goldfish out of my pond so I could clean outdoor ponds, and I got a bunch of little J.M. Brunsons all hopping around, flopping around. But in his source, that's what it reminded me. I went and did it just a little while ago. But here's the thing: why would you stop if you're Brunson? Why not keep doing it? You keep doing it until someone tells you no. If you're a little kid and you got a cookie jar there in his hole, but you keep eating those cookies until somebody tells you no. So why should he stop? He's a bitch, but why should he stop? I mean, he had to be crazy to do that. You know. Uh, my question is, and I got a few. Is I would have liked to have seen. I mean, Carl Anthony Towns. That's him. He is who he is. He's a fucking dude. But I would like to see if Stewart was in there, just to see. I mean, if he could have disrupted, they lost by a point, right? And then in the game before, if he could have disrupted, him for one shot, 2 shots, I think it would have been more than that. But let's say 1 or 2, different ball game. I don't like making excuses. I'm just pointing things out. Okay. Um. Oh, where else do I want to go? You know, if that's if that is Devin Booker, that's called. If that's James Harden, that's called. There's a lot of guys in the league, that's called. Tim Hardaway Jr., kind of a journeyman, okay? That's not called. All right. And I don't know if you guys knew this story. All right. You know Patrick Ewing, obviously. This is the first year in the lottery, and Patrick Ewing was in it. Of course, that was the grandest prize there could be. Well, there's a conspiracy theory out there. The conspiracy theory was, all right, that they put the Knicks envelope, all right, in dry ice. Okay, so it was freezing cold. And every time they reached in there, if it wasn't freezing cold, they pulled it out. There's so many. I mean, here's the thing: if the NBA is always conspiracy, 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 one of those times it's got to be true. All right, maybe more. I don't think they want to see a Detroit Cleveland conference final. Okay, so I mean, they want New York Boston. Who the fuck are we kidding? Okay, they want New York Boston. Then if they could love it, if they could have Boston and LA, but they're not. At least on LA's part. So something to look at there. The thing too is what? If I'm a player, I'm a coach. I don't fucking want them coming out and saying that because that burns even more. I mean, think about it. Okay, I'd rather stick with okay. They, whatever you think, okay, but don't after the fact. Don't tell them that after the fact. That's just, what? You're already down. You're beaten. If someone just stomped on your fucking head or kicked your teeth in, you're already fucking dead. Why kick his fucking teeth in? I mean, well, it depends on who the guy is, but I mean, it's just, it's crazy. It's just, I don't know. Now, to the point that you were talking about Jace, the fan in me, of course, I'm with it. They got fucked, this and that and everything. Of course. Now, the coach in me, this is what I say. Cade, why didn't you drive to the net and get your foul? Okay, why didn't you do that? That's okay though. You make that shot 14 out of 15 times. This time you didn't make it. Okay. Uh guys, you had an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter. You could have handled business yourself because if you're ever going to put it in the hands of a referee, you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. So they fucked around and they found out. Okay. They have a problem closing games out through this whole thing. We've seen that. They're young, they're learning. Okay. So you can't always, it can't always be Detroit versus everybody. This time again it was, but it just says, you know what, handle your fucking business. Okay, it 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 is what it is, man. You know, they obviously need another scorer next to Cade. I don't think, I mean, you know, Malik Beasley, I don't know, dude. He might have, I mean, oof, I mean, show up on a milk carton somewhere one time, so that just shows that, I mean, he's missing shit and Hardaway's missing shit, James Harden would miss that shit. Remember what I said about Skubal? He's going to stop the bleeding, okay? When they're going on these blowing 11-point leads, or they're going on where there's just a blit on the bucket, they can't hit the ocean from the beach. James Harden, boom, okay? The bleeding stops. All right. That's what they really could use. All right. Now, to you Twitter fucks out there, okay? If some of you know me, all right, and I called you out because you're a Twitter fuck, you're a Twitter hater. I want to say the name, but I'm not going to. You know who I'm talking about. You know I love you, but you're a piece of shit. Okay? So these haters, I hope they were bringing the same fucking smoke at LeBron, okay, at the time when LeBron couldn't make the big shot. And then all of a sudden didn't want to make the big shot and he would pass off, okay? So y'all out there, y'all hating on Cade, why don't you do some fucking math? He is one of 3 NBA players that happened that he scored in his first 4 games 20, I believe 10, and another number. Three in the history of the NBA. He brought him back in the fucking second half. And then you're going to say, and he's not clutch. Well, you know who you're out there. Clutch my fucking nuts. Okay? Clutch him and clutch him fucking good. All right? Because you're a fucking ridiculous fucking, oh, I gotta have it now. I can have it now. Cade sucks. Cade sucks. He'll be the first one licking his nuts and swinging from him when he brings you home a fucking championship. So my boy, and you know who you are, suck me dry. All right. With that, I'll send it back to you.
Well, we can always count on you for a nice intro there for me.
Indeed. Indeed.
So first thing, I'm glad you brought up the Cade Cunningham shot because I totally agree. And you know what it reminds me of? Duke, Cooper Flag, 13 seconds on the clock, the same shot from the top of the free throw line. To me, like you said, I saw 7 seconds on the clock when he pulled that. That tells me he should have passed it, got the ball back, and drove again, or tried to get a better shot. I would have went straight to the basket, like you said.
Just
Now,
drive. Yeah.
get that over with. You know what I mean? Now, with that being said, I'm glad you're on the James Harden train because
Loved
I
it.
brought that up a couple weeks ago, and it's like people are. I've brought it up at work to a couple of my coworkers, and they're just like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Trust me, bro. If we had James Harden, we would be feeling a lot better right now in this playoff."
Yeah.
Period. I mean, he's basically carrying the Clippers. I know Kawhi Leonard has had a great series, but throughout the regular season, James Harden got them to that playoff. So, with that being said, I would love James Harden in Detroit. However, we all know this series is pretty much over. It is what it is. But with that being said, James, do you have any thoughts you would like to add for the Pistons?
To quickly touch on the Pistons, and I have one quick note on Spencer Torkelson. First off, since I have it on my screen, just for what it's worth, and this was updated today, Spencer Torkelson is currently third in the odds for MVP. I realize there is still 130 games to go, and that's a fuck ton, but so far this is the sample size we got. He's third in the odds for MVP according to Fox Sports. Jumping back to the Pistons, I think we got completely screwed. I don't watch much basketball, but I have watched every game of this series. And it's odd only watching about 5 to 6 games this year and feeling like we got screwed in 3 of them. It is very much Detroit versus everybody in my limited viewing. Um, but in terms of this player gets the whistle and this other player doesn't, like who the refs like more, I don't know if that per se exists, because if it does, I'm sure there'd be some kind of investigation and the ref would been, found guilty or not, Tim Donaghy. And so if that would have happened, I mean, ever before, they might look into that a little bit. But it instantly reminded me of, I can't remember what year it was, but that Thanksgiving game for the Lions against the Houston Texans, where the knee was down. It was down on every single replay. And they were just like, yeah, we can see it's down on the replay, but whatever, touchdown. Like, we're not going to do anything about it. We're not going to change it. We're just going to wait till the end of the game to be like, oops. Like, yeah.
I totally remember that. It was Justin Forsett.
Yep.
And I remember because it was like 2013, 2014. So it was one of our better years with Stafford and co. But yeah, that I totally feel that. It's definitely reminiscent where it's just like they're after the game, they're just like, whoops, can't do nothing for you now. And it's like, dude, like I said, if it was a regular season game, I could understand, but a playoff game, come on, folks. We gotta figure something out here. But with that being said, the Pistons are headed back to MSG, and I think we all know how this is probably going to go. I will say Cade seemed pissed in his presser, so hopefully he comes out and drops fucking 60 and somehow gets it back to Detroit. I don't see that happening personally, but crazier things have happened. Now, moving on to the big news of the weekend, the NFL draft. So, the Lions, they drafted. They were there for it. It was a time, I'll say. I in the moment I was like, what? And even now I'm a little like, what? You know what I'm saying? Okay, so let me break it down like this, right? Tyleek Williams. Okay, I've grown. I've grown on the pick. I feel like it makes sense. I feel like, do I personally would I personally pick that player at that spot? I don't think so. Just based on the film that I've watched, he's a good player. He's a good run stuffer, but he doesn't offer a ton of pass rush upside. Which, at the end of the day, I mean, if he can get you at least 4 to 5 sacks a year, you'll be happy from your nose tackle. But I just feel like taking a nose tackle at that position is it's kind of tough. But I will say, DJ Reader, he's on a 1-year deal. And I've said this a couple times on the show, like, we need defensive tackles. I just thought we would wait a little bit longer because of how deep draft this is at defensive tackle. But clearly, Brad Holmes seems to disagree with literally everyone that edge is a need. He doesn't think it is. And you know what? If he doesn't think it is, he's not going to pick one. So I guess it's that simple for our first-round pick. Now, talking about our second-round pick is where things start to get a little weirder, I think, okay? I know it's not the player, right? It's not the player. I love the player. However, Brad Holmes has this thing, right, where he likes to make calls on draft day and lose the trade. I don't know what that is. It's like he purposefully wants to lose the trade. I don't understand it. He gave up, you guys ready for this? He gave up the what was it? Where is it? He gave up pick 60 and pick 130 for pick 57 and pick 230. Okay. I don't know if you guys know off the top of your head how those numbers work, but that means he moved 3 spots and traded away or moved down 3 rounds, guys. He moved up 3 spots from fucking 60 to 57 and then moved down 100 from 130 to 230. So he moved from the mid 4th round to the late 7th. Just saying, I don't love the trade. Now, I said it in the article that I wrote today. Will it matter if Tate Ratledge plays for us for a decade? No. No one will be thinking about that 5 years from now when he is getting his second contract. So that's how I think about it, right? It's like, can you be mad? Because who knows? He could have stayed at 60 and picked somebody else and it would have been worse. And then it stayed at 130 and picked somebody and it would have been worse. Who knows how that worked out? So just keep that in mind when we're talking these trades, because I'm not going to sit here and talk shit about Brad Holmes. That's not what I'm doing. It's just in terms of value right now today, he lost that trade. We'll see in the grand scheme if it really matters that much. But Ratledge is a great player. I think he fits what the Lions are looking for. He's a physical, dominant run blocker. He's a strong guy. His length is a little suspect. He doesn't have great versatility, so that scares me a little bit. He's only played right guard in his whole college career. So couple things to think about there. I mean, it's not like it's the end of the world or anything, but I do love the fit. He's a very athletic player too. He had a RAS of I think 9.93 at 6'6", 308. So he could even, gain a little bit of weight, I think. And he's already a dominant, powerful run blocker, like I said. So with that being said, our third round pick is not. This is the worst trade I think Brad Holmes has made to date. I think, to be honest with you. And maybe that's crazy to say, but I would think the second worst would be like the TJ Hawkinson trade or the JMO trade up. No, actually the JMO trade up wasn't that. It was not great, but it wasn't terrible. The Hawkinson trade, I only say that because you trade him to a division rival and you got a third round pick back. And it's like, man, that's rough. He's only 25 years old. Like, well, he was at the time. And it's like, now he's a stud over there in Minnesota that we have to worry about 2 times a year. So that's the only reason I would say that. But by far, I think this is his worst trade, and here's why, okay? He traded pick 102 and 2 2026 third-round picks for pick 70, pick 182, and a 2026 sixth-rounder. So he gave up 3 third-rounders to move up 30 spots, and he got back a what would that be? A fifth rounder, I think, and a sixth rounder. So according to the calculator, 2/6. Okay, so according to the calculator, they lost that by over 100 points. So just think about that. I mean, that's a pretty rough trade. And not only is the trade kind of rough, I like the player, man, but look, we just traded 3 third-round picks for a guy who likely won't produce for the next 2 years. And I only say that because, number 1, Tim Patrick. Number 2, he is raw as tuna fish, buddy. Like, that boy is raw. He's a great player if he reaches his potential. But right now, he's really just like a hype. You know what? This is funny to me, okay? And I find this kind of ironic. Brad Holmes was wearing a height, weight, speed hoodie. Did you guys notice that on day 2 of the draft? It said HWS, and it had a cut through it. Like, I don't give a fuck about height, weight, speed. Isaac Tesla is literally a height, weight, speed pick. Genuinely. He's 6'4", ran a 4.4, and it was like 208 or 216, somewhere in there. He's got all those. He was at a 9.9 RAS. The dude's a beast athletically, but he isn't a great route runner. His hands are inconsistent. I will say he's a willing blocker, so he fits that way. And the one thing I'm worried about the most with him is that he is a bit of an older prospect. He had 5 years in college, so just kind of take that into consideration on top of the trade up. But like I said with Ratledge, will it matter in 4 years if Isaac Tesla's our starting X and he's averaging 800 yards a year? I don't really think so, but who knows if that's going to happen. I mean, that's really the only problem I have with it is we gave up value for a developmental player at a position where it's not a need right now, which I understand that's not Brad Holmes' thing, but that's all my problem is with it. If we would have just gave up even 2 third rounders, I'd feel a little better, but 3 that's a bit of a reach. So we'll stop there before we go any deeper with the draft. I want to get your guys' thoughts on it, open up the panel. So James, you have the floor for your thoughts on the first 3 picks this weekend for Detroit.
Quick note, one thing, and maybe it's just under the radar because the player we got in return so far has not been very good. But I think Brad Holmes' worst trade would be when we traded up for Broderick Martin. We gave up 3 mid-round picks to move up and get him. And sight unseen, I will confidently say I will bet Tesla at least does more than Martin has in his first few seasons. Not that that justifies the trade. In terms of the first 3 picks, if you watched our live stream of the first round of the draft, first off, thank you. Second off, like you, I have grown probably even more than you to like to pick a lot more than initially thought. When we first took Williams, there's no way to describe it besides just pissed. I wanted John Campbell more than I'd say bordering on the air I breathe, about the same amount. And I will say I slept on it. I kind of understood it. But then when I was reading more reports, and I don't know if it's true or not, but what is out there is that Campbell had repair surgery for his, I want to say it was his left shoulder, and they said he's healing slow from that. And then they said he needs surgery on his right shoulder, but he wants to wait until next offseason to do that. So we would have, if we drafted him, 1 year of this guy who's playing with a bum shoulder and a surgically repaired shoulder. And then the next year, he's going to have another surgery on the other one. So going into his sophomore season, he would already have both shoulders repaired. Who knows how long he'd stay in the league? Maybe it doesn't affect him at all, but I can at least understand the hesitation on taking him then. That was information I had no idea about prior to the draft. And then they mentioned Green, who was another guy I desperately wanted. They said his interviews were beyond poor in some situations, and which, once again, is not information we're privy to. So once I read that, and then we did get a run stopper, and it when you pick 28th, we're not going to have some world beater, at least that we know of right now. Maybe he develops, and maybe I heard someone compare him to Snacks Harrison. Um, if we can get a guy like that, that would be that dominant in the run game. In addition to, we have Hutch for pass rush. And yes, we still need to add more to that, hopefully by drafting 2 guards. Maybe we can rework the contract with Glasgow or something. Maybe brings the Darius Smith back. We have options, but Brad, I trust with that. With our second pick, my God, my favorite pick of the draft for the Lions. I said a week prior, and then somewhere in the archives of X, someone mentioned, like, you guys watch and wait and see. It's like, what if Brett Holmes trades down for some extra draft capital and then drafts an interior lineman with his first pick of the draft? And I'm like, I can see it happening, but I'm perfectly fine with Tate Ratledge and a couple extra picks. And the original post only mentioned interior line. Tate Ratledge was my guy. So I love not Devin Booker, wrong Booker, Tyler Booker, but obviously he went 12th overall, which is, as much as I like the guy, earlier than even I thought he'd go. So with him being gone, I had Ratledge as my second best guard. I did have him over North Dakota State. I'm spacing on his name right now, but I did have Ratledge over him. He's the plug and play, as Jay said. He only plays right guard. He's not very versatile, but I believe he's a day one plug and play guy starting at right guard. As we sit now, Mahogany, Glasgow, and I think it's Frazier was the other, the LSU guard we drafted. Those guys can figure it out on the left side between them or whatever, but Ratledge is a powerhouse that is going to fit in very, very well with in between right now and Sewell there. And then when it comes to Tesla, I was relatively unknown on him until one of the more recent podcasts prior to the draft. Both you and Brad mentioned him. So I went and looked into him a little bit, and I really like what I saw. He is raw. He does have some things you got to work on, but I mean, it is a third round pick as well. And I don't want to get people's hopes too high with this, but I saw shades of St. Brown in his game with his willingness to block, with his I would say more quickness than speed, although he does have speed. But he gets open, he creates separation. He's more than willing to block, which to me is a big separation. Every receiver, 99% of the receivers can catch. That's your job. You know your route tree. What separates people is how willing they are to block, get physical, et cetera, et cetera. And he's not shy to get physical with anybody. Now, I will say, but using the 3 third rounders to trade up for him is pretty steep. Um, do yourselves a favor, and although this might have the reverse effect, but that's on you, not me. Don't look at the picks we have for next year because we're already missing a few, and it's more than just the 3rd round. So, to avoid even more disappointment, we are projected 4 picks in the top 200 right now. So, um, I'm hoping. I mean, obviously we all are, but I'm hoping with the draft filling those holes, along with some of the free agents we brought in, like Reed, multiple year deals and stuff like that, mixed in with the young talent and the multiple 1st round picks we've had in past drafts. I'm not too worried about this team, and I know you didn't say you were. I'm not, saying that, but in Brad, I trust. And some of these trades, I will say, go back on the trade thing. Some of these trades are, I'll say, debatable. I mean, it looks rough on paper, but like you said, if this guy's putting up, and I don't think he's going to take too long. I think he can surpass Tim Patrick. Um, before I'd say 7, 8 games in, he should be getting more snaps than Tim Patrick. I think. I'm enamored by this guy. He has a lot of speed as well as height. We've been begging, or at least I've been begging, for the tall X receiver for a few years now. So we got one who has plus speed. It's not JMO speed, but he's not slow. Um, he fits in exactly what we need, and I feel almost as humorous as it is to say, because I know Brad went on one of his rants about how we don't draft players for needs. We just draft the best player on our board, yada, yada, yada. But I'm like, almost every pick in this draft, other than the last 2, which I won't complain about because they're so late in the draft, filled an exact need we needed. Like, we needed a D tackle. Onzariki's on a 1-year deal. DJ Reader's on a 1-year deal, and on, like you said, one leg. McNeil is obviously fantastic, but who knows when he comes back? Who knows what he looks like when he comes back? So D tackle was a very big need. We filled that, or at least with as much as one pick can. And then we needed a guard with Zeitler between Glasgow and Mahogany, and I like Mahogany a lot. Looked very good, but he only had 2 starts. I'm not going to lean on this guy for 17 plus games because I do obviously expect to make the playoffs. And what if he went down? Got Salvador in there, and I don't trust him as far as I can throw him, which I can't even move him. So that I'm glad we double dipped. I know you only asked about the first 3 picks. Sorry if I'm going out a little far away, but I'm glad we double dipped at guard. I like the safety help. We can that could potentially be the Melanfanu replacement. I'm like every one of these picks, maybe other than like the second receiver. I don't know why we got a second receiver, but I'm not going to bitch about pick 200 and whatever. Um, but I really like the draft. I was questionable of day one on day one, but it settled in nicely with the rest of the draft, in my opinion. And all in all, when the whole draft came together at the end, I would say it was a solid B plus, considering it was a weaker draft class and we were picking on much later in the second half. I mean, it's not just like a superstar, at least a known one, is going to fall in our laps at 28. So all in all, I'm very happy with what transpired over the weekend for the Lions, and I'll send it back to you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Brad, anything you got to add there for the first 3 picks?
Buffalo and Philly were going to trade up. All right, they were going to trade up to take Tyke Hill. All right, so number 1, I'm glad we got him. Number 2, guess what? if the Buffalo GM and Howie Roseman want to trade up to get Tyquil Williams, we did something right. Okay. There was a drop off from Tyquil to the next defensive tackle. And quite frankly, it was a pretty damn big drop off. All right. Guys, reader. People said he had a good year last year. I thought he had an average year last year. Folks, we don't know if McNeil's coming back this year. Okay. You know what? He probably won't come back this year. All right. He tore the crap out of that ACL. Between that and conditioning, I wouldn't count on him. Like we said with the Tigers, I wouldn't count him. He comes back great, but I'm not counting on him. So you got just an absolute beast, burly, run-stopping dude. Okay. Plays a little high, sure, but guess what? That's what the coaches are for. This is the pros. This isn't college. All right. So I know we're all in the live draft. I think we're all a little disappointed because we all got ourselves so revved up about the edge and how many edges are out there. But it's the old 24-hour rule. You know what I mean? You wake up, emotions come to calm down. You look at it from a whole 360 scope. This was a damn good pick. I am more than happy with this pick. With Jihad Campbell, hey guys, man, I mean, he's going to start the season on the pup. So think about it this way. Hey, look, our first round draft pick, just like this past season we had. Hey, let's put him right on the injury list. We're used to putting good players on the injury list. They can't afford that. Okay, they just can't. I mean, there's some serious. I mean, you're talking one shoulder, two shoulders, and now his knee. All right, but I will say this: N'Kobe Dean from Georgia. All right, there were some concerns about him. Not as many as Campbell's injuries, but there were some injuries about him, and he's came back and he's played pretty well. Uh, with Rattledge, you got your next right guard for the next 10 years. I don't see anything. You got to play the game. All right. This is the NFL. This isn't the SEC. Yes, there is a big difference. Okay. So until he's got the full pads on, he's got the Lions uniform on, we see him a little in preseason. We can't crown him yet, but all signs point towards this guy is going to be our right guard for the next God knows how many years, but it should be a lot. Okay. Uh, Personally, I think Manu was this is me. I think it was by far the worst trade Holmes has ever made. All right. I just do. I mean, the guy wasn't on some people's draft boards. Okay. I mean, now Brad said, we were worried that teams are going to jump up. I don't know about that. Okay. But I think Manu, hands down, was the worst pick. Okay. Because at least Broderick Martin had a background. At least people know, okay, we saw the film. We know that he can play football. We know that he can play football at a D1 level. Okay. Now, do those always pan out? No, absolutely not. I mean, it seems like a wasted pick at the time. All right, now, but it seemed like a wasted pick at the time. I don't think anybody can really say that. All right. So I don't think any of the guys that we mentioned is the worst trade. Manu is such a question mark, guys. Is Does he look intriguing? Absolutely. If it pays off and he uses that whole athletic ability, good God. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be hit or it's going to be miss. There's not going to be anything in between because he's not that type of a player. He's not going to end up being an average player. He's a hit or he's a miss. Fair enough. It's fourth round. He gave up a lot of capital. Or did we have a third? Was it a third? We gave a four. We traded up in the fourth, right? Fourth,
We
but we
traded
gave
a
up a
third
third.
next
Yeah.
year for a fourth.
We
Yeah.
this
traded
year.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a horrible trade. I'm sorry. It just is too many question marks. You could have got him maybe later. Okay. When it comes to Brad Holmes, I think we all are all a little guilty of this. Mock drafts should be for fun. Do we know some stuff? Yes, we definitely know some stuff. Look at the first five, okay? But our board, the talking headboard on the TV and in the print and things, that's their board, for Christ's sake, okay? That's their board. Let's remember Mike Mayock, who was the guru, okay? Someone finally said, oh, let's hire the guy. He was fucking horseshit. So I don't give a fuck if you want to do a top 150 prospects, Absolutely. That's what I believe we should go by. Just have some fun with the simulators, guys. You have no fucking clue. Mel Kiper, just go bury yourself, okay? We can get probably back to that. I'm sure we'll talk about it. Just go away. I mean, you're like the vampire dude. Is just yeah, shut the fuck up. All right. Um, Brad doesn't care. If he wants a player, remember, he comes from LA, all right, under Les Snead. If he wants a player, he's gonna go get that player. All right, because I mean, how many fantasy football drafts we had where we go, I could get him in the third round, and all of a sudden the second round's taken. You're like, ah, damn. You like your guy, you go get your guy by any means necessary. Okay. Now it was a damn head scratcher. Okay. The three thirds. It really was. I don't obviously you can't count the first one. Okay. But if you want to use 1-3 to come up there, okay, do it. All right. The second three people say, oh, well, it was just a compensatory pick. We really didn't have it anyways. No, we had it. Okay. Just don't brush that off. We had that pick. Okay. Um, with Tesla, again, Brad thought whatever Brad thinks he does, and I'm okay with it. Okay. Like I said, has crashed on the amount of picks, but you know, maybe he would have dropped a little further, and then maybe he'd only had to give up a 1/3 round pick. But that's the maybe game, and why play maybe now? Okay, it's what's done is done. We hope it works out. Now with Tesla, we call him raw. Okay, raw he is. I'll give you that. But I'd rather have raw and build up from the bottom like a ball of clay and build that up than have a player that's got flaws. That's got when I say flaws, I mean he's got his muscle memory. He's used to doing it one thing. That's harder than hell to switch. Okay, so I'd rather have raw than bad habits. Give me raw over bad habits any day. Uh, he came he made the jump from Hillsdale. I think everybody here knows that Hillsdale is it's not a Division 2 powerhouse. It's actually a Division 2 shit fucking program. Okay, great academics, great academics. Okay, it's hard to get in there, but they're shit. Okay, I mean they're a bad football program. So you've gone from that where you go to the SEC where you made a pretty damn big dent. Okay, who's to say it's an unknown? I'm telling you, it's an unknown. Who's to say that he doesn't make the same jump from the SEC to the NFL, from Hillsdale to Arkansas with damn good production? Okay. I mean, the Hillsdale quarterback, I mean, Jesus Christ. And we know you can do this. You could take any high school quarterback that was in the top 20 of the state this year, and they would do better than that quarterback from Hillsdale. And we're talking high school kids. All right. So, not to belabor it, he can make that jump. He's got a little puka in him. Okay. Got it reminds me a little Puka Natua, Puka Natua, whatever the hell his last name is. But hey, he's pretty. Do you see Puka's brother, by the way? Yeah, good choice there. Great choice there. And the little bitch that was laughing, going, ha ha. Whatever. I'm getting off on a tangent. But let me ask you guys this. When you look at Tim Patrick, played every game, hell yeah, was a blessing. But let's keep it 100. He's got a long litany of injuries. He has got a injury history. Okay. James, homework assignment. Could you go back before last year and see how many games at average he was hurt? Okay. He's hurt, right? He's our big wide receiver, right? What if he goes down? His history proves it. Guess what we have? Okay. We got a big guy that can step in. Khalif Raymond's not going to step in. Okay. Uh, who else do they have? Who else do they even freaking have? So this guy could end up playing. What if we got him for the second half? What if we get him for the second half of the season? He's actually ready to go. When you get in that red zone, hell, you get inside the 30-yard line, let's even say. Okay. You got Laporta, you got Patrick, you got Tesla. I mean, hell, and obviously you got St. Brown, you got JMO. Pick your poison. You all got big receivers except for St. Brown. I'm just saying that. Am I saying that this guy's going to be the next Puka? No, I'm not. I'm saying I see traits there. So, head scratcher on the number of picks, yes. Remains to be seen on what he could do. Let's see what he can do, guys. Let's just flat out see what he can do. And with Brad, I mean, I'll tell you, Manu, Hooker, Martin, yeah, those didn't turn out. Okay, but how many more did? All right. So again, when he sees this guy, he go gets this guy. And I think it's turned out to be pretty damn good. Everybody was bitching. Remember this, and I heard those two chowderheads on the radio driving home. I don't even know why I wanted to do that. Remember how much everybody was bitching about us trading up for Jameer Gibbs? Remember how everybody was bitching about how we went and got Laporta? Okay, how's that working out? How's that working out? Gibbs is probably next to Saquon, best running back in the NFL. Oh God, Gibbs, you don't take a running back that early. Well, it worked out pretty goddamn good. Okay, so I'm not ready to say, oh, Brad, you got to win this year or you're on the hot seat like some idiot did on 97-1 today. Volante dickhead. Um, it's a good. Hey, it's Brad Holmes. He's a top 5 general manager in the league. I'm going with what he has to say. So back to you guys.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with pretty much everything you said, especially on Tesla, man. And I think a thing that a lot of people, are forgetting about in this thing is the draft process where Tesla came in wearing a Lions jersey. I personally think that's fucking sweet. That's awesome. Like that tells me he just wants to be here no matter what. And it's a good point, with we never know what that could be. I don't like the value of the picks, but like I said before, we got to see how it goes before we make any judgments. So with that being said, moving on to the next pick in the draft, Miles Frazier, and this might be my favorite pick out of all of them that we did. I just am a really big fan of his. He's a wide body, thick framed, lengthy interior guy, but he's 6'6", 324. He played all over the LSU offensive line last year. Only thing he didn't play was center, so maybe we could get him to play some center here in the future, but I mean, I'm not really sure about that one. With that, okay. Thought I had a sneeze, so we're good. Anyway, but with that, I do feel like he's not an excellent athlete. Like Ratledge, he's a great athlete. 9.9 RAS, like I said before. Frazier, he doesn't move the best. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but I would definitely say it's, below average movement skills. He's a decent athlete, good enough to get the job done pretty much. But what he really excels in is being able to use his mass and his girth and like the double teams, down blocks, all that kind of stuff where he can really use his size and his leverage. He's a pretty good pass protector too. Does well getting into his anchor. Shows good timing with his punch. And I personally think he might never be like a star, but he should be a consistent, interior piece for us going forward. And I could see him starting at left guard next year for us, but I could also see him being more of a depth piece. We'll kind of see how that goes. Either way, I won't be mad. The trade that we made, we actually won by 3. So Brad wins a trade up in this draft, which makes me feel a little bit better. But I also feel like this guy could have been picked in, I don't know, the 3rd round potentially. So getting him in the 5th was definite solid value. And then I am going to butcher this name, I'm sure. Ahmad Hassanin, I think. I hope that's how you say it. He 6th round pick, 196th overall. I like the player. Shout out to Gage. He wrote one of our writers, Gage O'Leary, wrote an article about this guy potentially being picked as the first Egyptian player ever drafted. And he wrote about the potential of the Lions doing it, and it's come to fruition. So good call there by him. Now, this guy I think was, how do I say this? I don't want to say was a steal by any means, but I like the value here in the 6th round. I don't know if he would have been drafted earlier by any means, but I do like the player, so I do like the value. Now, the real thing with him is he has been very productive. 101 tackles, 32 tackles for loss, 22 sacks over the last 2 seasons. And I know you're going to hear that and you're going to go, holy shit, this guy's a dude. How did he fall? Well, here's the problem. He's raw, okay? He's only been playing football for 5 years, which is kind of good for us. It's, kind of like what you were saying earlier, Brad. It's kind of like a blank slate, You can kind of start with what you got. But there is a downfall to that. He doesn't have the muscle memory. He doesn't have the instincts. He doesn't have certain things that, IQ and those kind of things that, you would like to see. Luckily, he's a defensive lineman. I know a lot of people might hate that I say this, but I think everybody can agree. Defensive linemen don't have to be the smartest guys on the field. It is what it is. But with this guy, his problems are more about his instincts, technique, and overall recognition. So he needs a lot of work there, but he's a passionate, give it your all type of guy. So he's going to give it everything he's got on every snap. He's got really good pop in his hands, feel for transitions in the pass rush. And he does well at getting to and hitting the quarterback. Obviously, Boise State is going to be a lot different than the NFL. So I won't count on that last one too much. But the things that worry me, they worry me a little bit to the point where I don't know if this pick's really going to ever mean much. He's a little undersized. He's only 6'2", but he's got good, he's bulky. He's got good girth to him at 267. He ran a 4.77 40, so he's solid athletic ability with a 32.5-inch vertical. But like I said before, he's super raw. He's tight-hipped. Too often he goes after the blocker and not the specific play. So, some things to think there. And I just feel he also has a problem with tackling. He struggles with tackling. But, like I said, 6th-round pick, I think it's a good value. It's a good pick. And with all things said, he was very productive at Boise State without the instincts, without the technique. So if we can teach him how to do it and he keeps that same motor and he, figures it out that way, we could have a pretty damn good player on our hands there coming off the edge, which I think if everything's said and done, if this guy ends up being a starter, I think we'll all shut the fuck up for a while. So, now, Dan Jackson, the next pick, the first of the 2 7th-rounders. I like this pick, as James, kind of mentioned a little bit earlier. I don't know if he'll be able to be that iffy guy, but even if he's not, I mentioned this in the article I wrote, even if he's not, he's a great athlete, downhill thumper. He's a real Dan Campbell type, you can just tell. He's not a great man coverage guy, though. I feel like he's not going to be a guy you're really going to rely on at least year one on defense. He's going to be a special teamer only, I think. I could see him playing like as the 4th safety, maybe. But I just don't think he'll be ready to get meaningful snaps at safety next year. And then the last pick, Dominic Lovett from Georgia. James, you mentioned earlier you didn't really like the pick. Well, I didn't understand it either, but then I went and watched the film. And I actually really like this pick, man. I feel like I don't know how I hadn't really heard too much on this guy. Now, before I get too ahead of myself, I'm not saying he is our next Amon-Ra by any means. It's a 7th-round pick for a reason. He's a smaller guy, only 5'10", 185. He's a slot only, but he did run a 4.4 flat, so he's got some speed. One thing I really liked about him, though, was his rack ability, run after catch. He's really good at it in really every facet, like whether it be catching a screen or getting through contact after the catch. He's pretty shifty as well. It really shows his ability to make defenders, miss in space. The one thing I really liked about him, too, that I'm sure Brad Holmes and Dan like, too, is he's a willing blocker. I know he's a small guy, but similar to Amon-Ra, he really gets in there. But the real negatives on him are his physicality and his hands. His hands are not that great. He's not great at contested catches. So that's kind of where he's completely opposite from Amon-Ra. Not the greatest hands, and like I said, lacks physicality, especially getting off of the press. So, do I think that this guy is going to be a game changer for us? No, not really. Do I think he could be a solid special teamer next year and potentially maybe, I don't know, take that Khalif Raymond role? Sure. And I love the pick for that reason, okay? Because I really like Khalif Raymond, but he's getting a little bit older, and we need a new guy to... And, he's basically the same dude. If you think about it that way, watching his film, it felt like I was watching a similar player. So, with that being said, James, we'll go back to you first on your thoughts on the last few picks. I know you kind of gave us some stuff earlier, but if you've got anything else to add here.
Yeah, my bad. I got ahead of myself. I will start this one with my homework assignment. Tim Patrick, believe it or not, besides his 2 devastating injuries, he has not really missed time. He had 1 year where he only played 8 games. Then he played every game for the next two. Then he tore his ACL in preseason, missed the entire season in 22. And then it was either a preseason again or a training camp. He tore his Achilles and missed all of 23. And then he played in 16 of the 17 games last year. So of the seasons he's played, with the exception of those two injuries, he's only missed 2 games in 3 years. So he's actually not as bad as I thought. But yeah, he did miss 2 full calendar years with Achilles and ACL. And for what little it's worth in my research, he came in sixth last year for Comeback Player of the Year. So at least he got some recognition throughout the league there. Um, and then going back, Frazier, I love the pick. I know I touched on it a little earlier. I like trenches. I like the big guys. They make the world go round. If you don't have an O line, you don't have a run game. You don't, unless you have Barry Sanders. Um, but you don't have a pass game if you don't have an O line. If you don't have a D line, his we have seen with all the injuries, your opposing team's quarterback can just stand in the pocket for 7 seconds. It's not fun. You have to have an O line and you have to break through the other team's O line. That's just football 101. So any kind of depth, as Jay's touched on, he's played every position on the O line other than center. I don't know if that's not in his skill set or if he just wasn't asked. Who knows? Um, and I know in multiple podcasts I talked about potentially putting like Manu at guard. I wonder if we can just for shits and giggles put him at center, and not even like preseason, but practice, just see what we got. I love Ragnow, but he's been kind of banged up. He's played through a shit ton of injuries. He's getting older. And between Frazier, Mahogany, Manu, uh, like we got some guys now that we can at least have the conversation and just start the carousel as a succession plan. But I love the Miles Frazier pick. Going to the Ahmed Hassani, I'm destroyed that, but hopefully he makes some plays and I can hear his name more often. To be honest, at the time of the pick, I never heard of the guy. I'm not going to pretend like I watch Boise State. I love the blue field. It makes me think of Titus Young because I know we got him, or Kellen Moore. But I never heard of the guy. His production on the stats that anyone can look up and read seems at least good enough. Um, if because I won't really spoil it because I can talk about this guy for a long time. He's one of my, I don't know about favorite draft picks, but he's one of my favorite people in the league right now. His charisma and his personality on his phone calls, if you've seen them on X or YouTube, if not, go look them up. It's well worth a watch. He has an infectious personality. He's a Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes guy through and through. He is raw as hell, like you said. He mentions in one of the interviews he was 18 years old when he just saw American football for the first time. He was 18 when he's like, "What's this on my TV?" And he asked his brother what high school Aaron Donald played for because he thought it was a high school football game. But so to go from that at 18, I think he's 22 or 23 now. But I mean, he's barely learning the sport at this point. And I remember he said his first season, I can't remember the level off the top of my head, but his team did not have a D-line coach. He said he would go to YouTube and YouTube pass rush moves and just try them out in the yard and shit. So get this guy some real coaching, which of course he had at Boise State, but get him coaching, get him acclimated, and the sky's the limit for this dude. I'm not a big CrossFit guy, but he was when he was 18, he was ranked the number one CrossFit person in Egypt. He's fit. He is more than willing to work hard. He told Dan Campbell that he promises him that he is willing to die on the field for this team if as long as you just give him a chance. I mean, I don't know what else you need. Like, here's your chance, kid. Like, I can't promise you playing time or anything, but I mean, that's the kind of guy that you just root for and you want him to succeed. And not only just because he's on our team, of course, we want all draft picks to succeed, whoever they are. But the sky's the limit for this kid. And yeah, I don't think he's even scraping the surface. I don't even know if we know what his floor would be, let alone his ceiling. Um, but I'll end my evaluations of him on that because it's just to be determined pretty much. And then Dan Jackson, I touched on. Um, picked 230 overall. I see him at least year one as a special team only guy. I wasn't earlier, just for clarification's sake, comparing him to Melanfonwu. I'm just mean we needed a safety because we lost Melanfonwu. Um, he's a big hitter. He's not afraid to put his body on the line. But like you said, he's a seventh round pick for a reason. I'm not going to get my hopes too high, and I'm not going to drag him if he messes up. And then our last pick, 244, love it. As much as I wanted to say like the pick, I love it. Uh, it's just because of Tesla. I just am confused by two receivers. If he was the only receiver we picked, I wouldn't say a damn thing about it. I watched the film on him. It looks good. Everything you said about him was spot on. I'm just kind of confused by the two receivers, but as you mentioned, Khalif Raymond is getting older. JMO's contract. I mean, as much as I don't want to bring up that story again, but JMO's contract, who knows? Um, and besides him, I mean, Tim Patrick, he was a nice player for us last year, but he's on the wrong side of 30. He only signed a 1 year deal. So, I mean, maybe both these guys make the team, even if it's special teams for year one, and then we expand their role in year two. But when my first debatable picks are 230 and 244, I can't really bitch about it. I know we can discuss and debate, was the trade worth it for this guy or that guy, but in terms of just the pick and just the player, I'm a big fan of all of these picks. And I'm not just saying that just because I'm a Lions fan. I know there's going to be people, oh, you're a homer. And I'm like, I am, but I can put that aside for my evaluations. But yeah, I mean, if these seventh round picks don't make the cut, so be it. That just means we have someone better. And if they do, so be it. They earned it. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and going back to the first few points you made, I personally would try Frazier at center. I don't see. I think we need to put the Manu moving behind us. Okay, this is the way I was under the, we could move him to guard thing too, but as an O-line coach thinking about it more, it's like this kid was already super fucking raw as is, and we're teaching him basically how to kick step and teaching him how to do the basics. So like I would hate to kind of hinder his development and try to move him to guard because it's similar, but it's not the same, So you're teaching him new technique, new everything. So I think he's going to be a tackle. I don't think he was ever even in competition to be a guard. I think they were just he's the heir apparent to Taylor Decker until he's not. I think that's the idea, and that's why they took him in the third round. Now. The Dan Jackson thing, last thing I want to say on the rest of it is I was doing my evaluations for the Senior Bowl because as some of you may know, I was going down to the Senior Bowl this past year, but I got sick, so I wasn't able to do it. But I was doing all my evaluations, and I saw Dan Jackson, read his scouting report, watched some film, and I said to myself, this is a Dan Campbell guy. He just is in every way. I mean, for instance, the Georgia head coach or maybe the defensive coordinator, I can't remember off the top of my head, after a game or maybe not after a game, but at some point was asked, if there's one guy on this team that, you want to see in the next level, who is it? And he said Dan Jackson. And he said because he works harder than everyone else. He's one of those like legitimately first there, last to leave. That's who Dan Jackson is. So the fact that we got him in the second round, I personally love it. Even if he only is, or seventh round, yeah. Only if he is a special teamer, I'm fine with that. I mean, that's the kind of guy you have in your locker room. He's a great glue guy. So with that being said, Brad, floor is yours if you got anything on the rest of the picks.
Yeah, you know what? We can make predictions. I'm not saying, before the draft grades and the mock boards, but I'm gonna have a prediction that every single one of these draft picks makes the ball club. Sure, it could be on the practice squad. I get that. But I think they're gonna make this team. Uh, with Neil, I mean, I saw a lot again. I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I saw a lot of projections. Let's leave it at third round. Who knows? But I saw a lot of third round grades on him. With the athleticism, footwork, things like that, we got a guy named Hank Fraley who's the best in the business. So I saw Neil, on his highlights, pulling a little bit. He stands up. He stands up pretty tall when he's pulling. When he was a guard, they pull the guard around the end there. He was standing up pretty tall. Didn't look that athletic, but I think with a little bit of coaching there, I think he'll be fine. Uh, he's almost, and we don't even know what Zabel could do, but he might be kind of like that Gray Zabel where he can play up and down the line. All right. You need a tackle, he's there. You need a guard, he's there. Center remains to be seen. Who knows? But he is going to be like almost, he's going to be a step up from Dan Skipper. Maybe two or three step. That's the kind of I think he starts out in the skipper role. Or if they got him at guard, if he wins the guard position, hey, you're talking Neal, you're talking Ratledge, you're talking Mahogany. Well, the odd man out is going to be Graham Glasgow, who's the ninth on the team with salary. Let's keep that for a different conversation here coming up. With the Egyptian earthquake, I'll start that off by the way though. With the Egyptian earthquake, Raw is good, but you know what? It's a lot of film where he's getting to that quarterback, and if he's not getting to that quarterback, then he's running dudes down. All right, non-stop motor. Okay, this guy, you look at this guy, and just by listening to him talk, you're just ready to go. You know what I mean? And like you said, James, I've never heard a dude ever. I've heard him say, "I'll run through a brick wall for you. I'll take a bullet for you." Okay, but when he says, "I'll die for you," oh my God. Hopefully Damar Hamlin didn't hear that. Bad joke, but real bad joke. Sorry, but but I'm sorry to throw it out there. I know I went over like a fart in church, but no, when you have something that mentality, okay. Geez, oh Pete's man, so Campbell guy. I think this guy's got a real shot to be pretty special. Okay, I just do. Maybe it's the fact I love what he had to say, but film don't lie, and he looks pretty damn good. Uh, you know, with uh with Dan Jackson now, that is the mold of a Dan Campbell guy. If Dan Campbell could mold a player, all right, if he could build a player or whatever, put him together on AI or whatever it is, that would be Dan Jackson. Okay. The dude is a beast. In fact, Ratledge, what he heard, he calls him Dirty Dan. So that's his nickname at Georgia, Dirty Dan. All right. Good God, man. What does that tell you? That means the dude is a grunt. He is a grit guy. Okay. The dude he's gonna be a core special teams guy from day one. Okay. He's got to, hey, we got to see how he progresses, but he does give him depth at safety. The dude is not afraid to be a heat-seeking missile and launch his body into people. He is not one that's going to make business decisions. Okay. He is going to be a fucking torpedo through a guy's chest, but he's got some things he's got to learn there. Okay. I like the pick. I love the pick. All right. I'm sure Dan Campbell loves the pick as well. Now, when we talk about love it, let's keep some things in mind here. Okay. We lost Kendall Vildor. All right. That was our top gunner. Okay. This guy has played gunner at Georgia. He can fly down the field. He doesn't mind hitting. Okay. When given the chance, I think he could be that replacement at gunner. Okay. That is not an easy position. Never, ever sleep on special teams. This dude, if he can do that, wow. Imagine that. Okay. As far as receiving goes, he could be a Swiss Army knife. When you run a 4-4, they can find a way to get you on that field. All right. There's no substitute for speed. All right. So you can get him on some jet sweeps, maybe. Okay. You can get him on some tosses. Okay. God forbid, I hope that our offensive coordinator Morton knows how to run a trick play, because only Ben Johnson knew how to run trick plays. Oh my God, we lost him. You could see him on some trick plays here, okay? When you got JMO, when you got him on the field at the same time, you could be doing a lot of stuff, all right? Oh, boy, but we don't have Ben Johnson, little boy Ben. I'd like to get to him with these draft picks soon anyways. But, no, it's a good pick, all right? Now, we said he was a Khalif County guy, okay? Khalif's contract, Glasgow's contract. I wonder what those add up to. I wonder if we can just snip, ring, yo, ZD. come on back. Oh, we did take ZD's our nephew, by the way, Meeks from Syracuse. So Glasgow, we're gonna put you out to pasture, buddy. Okay, just go. You're going to the glue factory. Okay, you're going. Hey, you're going. Hey, you're going for bye bye. You're going for bye bye. Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you can put a freaking old Yeller down. Boom, bury him, leave him where he's at. That's Glasgow. Khalif, you can just, I mean, you can just, he's replaceable. He just is. I love Khalif. My daughter's got his jersey. I mean, but he's replaceable. So there's money there, guys. There really is. And I think Lovett could be a hell of a returner. Again, 4.4 speed. You can't coach that. All right. But to wrap it up, I'll go back to the beginning. I think every pick on this team stays. I think they make the ball club. And if you can, I'd like to see the whole draft picks. I'd like to see what their average RAS is, because that's a pretty big metric that Holmes does go by. That is a fact. Okay, so I'd love to see, because I saw a lot of nines. I saw a lot of 9.3s. I saw a couple like 9.9s. And then when they rank them, I saw like out of 1,050, these guys were ranked pretty high, especially Ratledge. So I don't know. Check out the RAS. I like the draft. I'm not giving it a grade. I give grades on drafts 2 years in. So
Yeah, for sure. And good points there, especially on Lovett being a gunner. Definitely, I think that's a reason why they took that pick there. But I'm glad you brought it up because, we were already going there with Zadarius Smith. I do think that was kind of the mentality with drafting two offensive linemen. Now, okay, call me crazy, guys. This is what I think is going to happen, okay? June 1st, we cut Glasgow. We signed Zadarius Smith, okay? Ratledge will be our right guard from day one, and it'll be between Miles and Mahogany for that left guard spot. I think that just makes the most sense. I mean, and like you said, we could even cut Raymond, and, that would free up a little over 10 mil, almost 11 mil in cap space, which is pretty easily, I mean, Khalif Raymond and Glasgow together, just to be clear, is 10 to 11 million. So I think Glasgow's about 8.5. Raymond's about 3. So, like you said, we could basically turn those contracts into Zadarius Smith or another player who I've been talking about a lot, Von Miller, something along those lines. Now, I also am thinking to myself, like, there is a chance we just run with what we got. I really have this gut feeling, man. And maybe that's why Brad Holmes doesn't think edge is a need, is because he knows we're going to get Smith at the end of the day. But part of me just feels like he's just going to roll with what we got. And I'll tell you right now, I just really hope it doesn't fucking bite us in the ass if that's the plan. If Marcus Davenport is going to be our number 2 edge, man, God help us and hope he can stay healthy. But I do think Brad Holmes has a plan, and I think that plan has to do with Zadarius Smith, who has been in Detroit for this whole time with his girlfriend Cash Doll. So they even posted a video. I'm sure everybody already saw this. This was a while ago, where Zadarius, she said, "Come back to Detroit," and he said, "Are you going to pay half my salary?" That to me, okay, that to me means the Lions already had the conversation telling him, "Here's how much we can pay you right now," and that's why he hasn't signed anywhere. That's just my thoughts on that. James, what are your thoughts on bringing back Zadarius Smith?
I mean, since we cut him, I thought we were that day when we cut him. I thought maybe we can bring him back to a cheaper contract. I'm all for it. He was still productive. He had 9 sacks last year, and some of those were obviously with Cleveland. A handful of those were after the trade with Detroit in games where he had no Hutch. So half his games with us or so, I don't know the exact number, or without Hutch and without McNeil. And he still got like you said, he wasn't a amazing player for us, but he was solid. He was the best player we had that was healthy. So if you can get McNeil back at some point, a lot of people are saying around Thanksgiving, but I wouldn't hold my breath. But if we have our intact D line, Hutch should be good to go week 1 and everything. I'm curious to see what Zadarius Smith can do when he's not a focal point of the entire offensive line, whoever we're playing against that week. And either way, that's another reason with Williams, because we'll have Williams no matter what. So Hutch, Williams, and assuming we get Zadarius Smith back, um, I like our D line. I just do. And then, God forbid, but if injuries happen, we still have Pascal as a rotational guy. We still have Davenport as a rotational guy. Um, I know Kaminsky retired. I'm trying to think of some of the other depth we have, but if we bring Zadarius back, I know he's not the long-term answer, obviously, but he will be one hell of a band-aid until we can get to next off season.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you there. I feel like I said before, Holmes has pretty much always had this in the back of his mind, in his back pocket. Brad, do you have anything to add there before we get out of here?
Yeah, I would agree that might be a plan, but I'm leaning more towards you thought a little bit that I think he might go into what we have. Anything can change though. Um, just real quick, you guys ever see that movie Say Anything? Ever see that? John Cusack? James, you see it? You're older. Okay. It's a great movie. You should honestly watch it. It's a great movie. You'd love it, for real. But the guy's girlfriend breaks up with him. And he's not doing some kind of psycho stalking thing. He's doing a lot of great stuff to try to win her back. But there's this epic scene, and it's epic. And just Google Say Anything, John Cusack epic scene. He's got this boombox over his head. It's like 6 a.m. All right, and it's their song. Oh, now there's a GIF about it. You guys, and and he's got it above his head. And it's just, and I'm telling you, that reminds me of Zadarius Smith hanging out at Allen Park headquarters with that boombox saying, "Hey man, I love you. I'm right here. Take me back." I'm telling you, that's what I think of when I think of Zadarius. Um, yeah, it's the right fit. I mean, look what he did with nothing else. He got 4.5 sacks for this team. Double that with Hutch. Okay, coming back, double it. All right, 8 sacks out of there. Brad's got a plan. Hey, we questioned it ourselves today. Okay, so we'll see what happens. But Marcus Davenport, I got a better chance of dating Halle Berry than Davenport does playing 5 games this year. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, so that's all I got.
That poor Halle Berry.
I'll be back.
I was
She's
gonna
getting
say,
old, but her standards haven't dropped that much.
I was gonna say, at least he's gonna play a couple games. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
There's a small chance there. No,
zero,
but
zero.
no. So with that being said, great stuff as always, guys. Appreciate you guys for joining me, of course. Um, for the watchers, our first live, show, our first weekly live show. We are going to do this every Monday at 6 p.m. and every Thursday at 6 p.m. Some things may change from then, but that is the plan on how we do this. We're going to be live on Twitch, on YouTube, on X. You can find our Twitch, MI Sports Media, our YouTube, Michigan Sports Media Network, and our X is on my account at JSoSweet, which we will change pretty soon. We got to get our other Twitter on premium. So once we do that, we will swap it over, and then we will be able to stream fully on X. But with that being said, we appreciate you guys for watching. James, you can find him at Gullet_James, Brad at BT8Ball, and myself at JSoSweet. You can find all three of us at MI Sports Media and misportsmedia.com. We appreciate you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that follow button, and look down in the description. We appreciate everything that you guys do for us. And if you could click that Fanatics link the next time you want to buy, it will help us out quite a bit. So we would appreciate that a lot. The link will be down in the description. So we will see you on the next one. Peace.